ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Welcome to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you here, deep from the swamps of Jersey. We got a great show coming up for you. We've all seen the news about the suspended NFL players violating the NFL gambling policy because they were placing bets when they shouldn't have, or the trouble the coach of the University of Alabama baseball team got into because of alleged suspicious betting activity. Well, how are those suspicious bets detected, and who is the company that finds out all about these problematic wagers? We're going to find out a lot about that process because coming up, I'm talking with Matthew Holt. Matt is the founder and CEO of U.S. Integrity, and when it comes to integrity monitoring and fraud detection, they are, in my opinion, the best in the business. When we come back, we're talking about gambling and U.S. Integrity. So stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards. Hey, this is Dave Weishuttle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of July 10th, 2023. The 11th bid has come in for one of the New York City area casino licenses. Commercial real estate developer Silverstein Properties, in partnership with Greenwood Gaming, announced plans for a mixed-use development with a 600,000 square foot casino and a 1,000-room hotel. The site used to be a Mercedes-Benz dealership and sits adjacent to the Javits Convention Center. The property will also feature 12 restaurants, an art gallery, and a performance venue. iGaming and online poker is officially legal in Rhode Island. Governor Daniel McKee signed bills into law which would give the Ocean State online casinos as well as online poker sites. The bills will give iGaming control to Bally's Corporation, which runs 2 casinos in the state, Twin River Lincoln Casino and Resort and Tiverton Casino and Hotel. The proposed start date for online gambling in Rhode Island is March of 2024. And finally, Las Vegas-based company Las Vegas Spaceport was granted permission to sell stock in order to raise money for its planned spaceport, where they will launch manned space flights to a space hotel. The site will be located outside of Pahrump, Nevada, and since this is Nevada, they also plan on building a casino hotel at the site as well. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Your Majesty, the royal wrestlers await.
I'll bet on the little guy.
How much?
3,000 guineas, 2 geese, and a duck.
That's a foul bet.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. Anyone who works in the gambling world or follows industry news has heard the name U.S. Integrity. As a gaming attorney, I think I'm reading about them every week because for me, they are simply the best company when you're talking about sports betting compliance and fraud prevention. That's why I'm excited to talk to our next guest. Matthew Holt is the founder and CEO of U.S. Integrity, and he's going to tell us all about this incredible company because he's on the line with us right now. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
I couldn't wait to talk to you because, as I said, U.S. Integrity is such an amazing company, and it does such great work in the gaming industry. But in terms of background, what did you do in the gaming industry, and what led you to create U.S. Integrity?
So prior to this, I was an executive at a company called Cantor Gaming. You know, we were the largest licensed sportsbook operator in Nevada for a period of time, probably 2010 to approximately 2016. Launched the first regulated mobile sportsbook app in the state of Nevada. And I also was the COO of their sister company, CG Analytics, because in Nevada you have to have get buy odds from a licensed information service provider. Mm-hmm. So at Cantor, we bought one, incorporated it into our business, and then I was running that. And it was interesting in about 2012, because none of the other casinos here had launched mobile sportsbook apps yet. We did like $1.3 billion, I think, in handle in 2012 at a time when the state was only like $2.7 billion. So we were almost 50% of the entire Nevada, and thus at that point, U.S. legal sports betting market. So we started working with a lot of the professional and collegiate sports leagues for some fairly rudimentary game integrity, data sharing, sort of work to make sure that we were, the thought being that, look, if a lot of this illegal activity was happening, with bookies in the illegal market, some of it may funnel up to Vegas.
Sure.
Because people want that quick cash. So working so closely with the leagues for so many years in late 2017, I had a pretty good indication that PASPO is going to be repealed in Q2 of 2018. And those first 4 states that already had regs in place, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Mississippi, and New Jersey, all had mandates that operators contract with a licensed independent integrity monitor, and there really weren't any. So we basically started U.S. Integrity in the spring of 2018 to fill regulatory mandates. And very rapidly, as we started signing operators, the leagues really liked the fact that we were a technology and data-driven firm, that we were truly independent and conflict-free. We weren't making odds. We weren't managing risk. We were truly an impartial, unbiased integrity firm. So in 2018, we participated in an RFP with 13 other companies, all the big names you can imagine, the big data companies, Genius, Radar, et cetera, Stats Perform, to be the official integrity provider for the SEC. We won that contract because we were conflict-free. Mm-hmm. And then really it skyrocketed since. Now, fast forward 5 years later, we have over 160 clients, almost every major professional and collegiate sport league, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, UFC, NASCAR, PGA, SEC, Pac-12, Big 12, all the way down the line. And I think 93 of 96 regulated sports books across America were licensed in 37 states, Ontario, Puerto Rico. So we're pretty excited about where we're at. We truly feel like we live in the epicenter of the regulated sports betting industry. Regulators, operators, and leagues, teams, conferences, universities all send us information in. We aggregate information in real time and send out reports in real time to all of those stakeholders. And, we're really excited about how we got here and the clientele list we have, but I think we're even more excited about what we continue to do in the industry moving forward.
Yeah, I read about you guys all the time in the news, and it's just incredible what you guys are doing in the industry. But for people who may not be familiar with the ins and outs of the gaming industry around the country who are listening right now, tell us, what is the mission with regard to sports betting and the gambling industries for U.S. Integrity?
Sure. At the end of the day, it's to make sure that the events that it's a fair and equitable betting market for all participants involved. And, it's no different than the stock market. If you're going to invest your retirement account or your hard-earned money into the stock market, you want to know that it is a fair and equitable market, that you are putting your money into something that's honest and fair, and that the companies are all trying their best to be successful. And it's the same thing on sports betting. We want people to know that when they place their money down, whether it's, very small entertainment-style bets or more sophisticated wagers, that this is a fair and equitable market. And one of the things that always struck me before we started this company was I saw an interview with the president of La Liga. And for anyone who's not familiar with La Liga, the soccer league, it's as big as any professional league we have here. So let's call it the equivalent in the size of the NBA. It's so popular there. And he came out and said, look, conservatively, 8 to 10 matches were fixed a year in his league. And I just thought, there's just no possible way Adam Silver or Roger Goodell are ever coming out and saying, well, conservatively, 8 to 10 of our matches will be fixed this year. And having the American society, not just the betting society, but society as a whole, because sports is so entrenched in our lives, saying, 8 to 10, that's not too bad this year. That's just not who we are. We're not going to take that. But in order for us to say, hey, That's a standard we can never get to. We can never get to that being the standard. It takes commitment from all sides. We call it information, cooperation, collaboration. We need to get as much information as possible in real time. We need to get the cooperation of the gaming regulators and the licensed sportsbook operators to deliver us their feedback and observations in real time. And we need the commitment and collaboration from the sports leagues that they are going to do everything they can, investigate, every instance that gets raised to them, and share information when possible to make sure that their commitment to integrity is at the very highest level. And I can honestly say in the last 5 years, I think all three stakeholder groups are as committed as anything I've ever seen from anybody, and thus that's why I think we've had so much success, and that the industry in the U.S. is skyrocketing the way it is.
One of the incredible things that U.S. Integrity does, and its chief purpose, is integrity monitoring. And when I think of that term, and when I think of the enormous amount of sports betting and gaming going on in different jurisdictions in this country, I am amazed at the job U.S. Integrity does. When we say the term integrity monitoring, what tools do you use to carry out, which I would imagine is an incredibly difficult job of integrity monitoring?
So at the end of the day, first of all, it's not just match fixing. That makes up a very small portion of the incidents we catch. A lot of people automatically go to match fixing when they hear about integrity monitoring, but it's misuse of insider information. It's illegal betting. It's prohibited bettors, athletes betting on their own events, or people that shouldn't be allowed to wager. So it's a really large piece of investigative work that we do. At the end of the day, we send out 15 to 18 alerts a month on average. About half of those alerts will lead to suspensions related to sports betting activity. And really what we're doing is we're pulling in data in real time. So we have odds feeds coming in real time, and in some states, real betting feeds coming in real time. So the actual bets flowing through the system in real time. We get anonymous reports. We get reports from the operators in real time. And anytime something gets elevated, it goes to one of our analysts. Our analysts investigate it further very quickly to see if it raises to the level of alert. If it does, then we send out an alert in real time to all regulated sportsbook operators across the country, anonymizing where the information came from, showing them what type of suspicious or abnormal activity was identified, to see if they also identified any of that activity. Then we aggregate all the responses we get. Sportsbooks all have 6 hours to respond to these alerts. After that 6 hours is up, we aggregate the responses. Usually it's about 100 of them, put all the information together, see what jurisdictions are affected, put together a really comprehensive and robust report, and then in real time get that report out to the appropriate investigative agencies in those jurisdictions so they could take the immediate action of halting betting, suspending betting, voiding wagers, holding wagers, whatever they need to do so they can start the investigation on their side.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
With costs going up, Adam & Eve is the best deal around. With 50% off a sexy adult product at adamandeve.com. That's 50% off right now when you point the camera on your smartphone at the code on the screen. Don't get up. Just open your camera and point it at the screen. Hurry! You'll also get 10 free gifts, including free discreet shipping at checkout. This is your chance to get more for less. So scan now for 50% off plus 10 free gifts from adamandeve.com.
Drizzly makes it easy to shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and liquor from wherever I am. I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly. Ding dong, Drizzly.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Is that good? Do I want that?
Oh yeah, you want that.
Well, fantastic then.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Matthew Holt, founder and CEO of U.S. Integrity. Since you founded U.S. Integrity, how much has technology changed with regard to integrity monitoring? I mean, I've interviewed companies that are coming out with new apps and new ways to bet. I mean, I interviewed a company that has an app on your phone that can tell you, that will give you customized bets based on the game you're watching on television. So technology is constantly changing and evolving. I'm just curious, when it comes to U.S. Integrity, how has your technology and your process in fraud detection developed over the years?
Look, I think the technology has given us advantages that nobody had years ago. I mean, let's think of like something that got caught in Nevada. So Arizona State back in 1995. Those guys literally fixed 4 games before they got caught, and people were asking questions. But now, because we could see interstate wagers and people coming in from different jurisdictions and data coming in real time, most times we're going to catch these things on the very first attempt. And it's not just the technology on our ability to ingest, identify, use AI to identify different types of abnormalities on different markets, but the ability for people to communicate with each other, to get information to us, have that information redisseminated and back to us again, aggregated within minutes, is just amazing now. So we have all these advantages that folks didn't have. And you have to remember, every time somebody logs into a regulated sports betting app in any state, so the rules are a little different in every state, in terms of integrity monitoring and data sharing and all this stuff, but where they're not different in any of the states is around geolocation.
Okay.
So the second you log into a regulated sports betting app anywhere in the country, you're geolocated to a 3-foot radius. So if you're at a team facility or a practice, you're at the arena at a time when there's only team personnel there, players, coaches, trainers, etc., it's pretty easy to identify when folks are betting in a situation where they shouldn't be betting. And so I think technology has certainly made our lives easier, our ability to identify things better. And what we're seeing right now is the system is working. And because the system is working, we're seeing a big wave of people getting busted lately. You know, we saw all these schools, Iowa State, all the NFL players, Alabama, Cincinnati. But at the end of the day, we have to remember sports betting is new to a lot of these professional and collegiate athletes, coaches, stakeholders, etc. And as they start to learn and understand that you are geolocated, that all your information is there when you signed up for this account, that you're being tracked every second you're on this app, I think we're going to start to see some of those that don't have malicious intent. They're not trying to fix matches. They're not trying to manipulate games, but rather they're just sort of not following the rules because they may not have fully understood them. I think we'll start to see those instances really start to go down quite a bit, and we'll get back to focusing on people that are trying to manipulate events or are, the ones that are causing problems trying to fix games, and we could spend more time focusing on that. But I never take all of the recent incidents as, oh, wow, this is happening because sports betting is legal. No, this is happening because the systems, the protocols, the guardrails we put in place are working. This is the proof that they're working, and I think that's the best deterrent that there is.
You know, you predicted my next question. Different states have different rules and regulations. I'm wondering, for U.S. integrity, does the process of detection differ when it comes to different states, or do the tools and the process that you employ work across all jurisdictions?
They tend to work across most jurisdictions, but you're right, the rules are drastically different. Our ability to get data in real time is drastically different. And one of the things we have to remember about the U.S. is it's not just 50 states, 50 sets of rules, and really 52, because let's include the District of Columbia, who has sports books, has their own sports betting lottery, has a sports book in an arena that has a professional basketball and hockey team. Puerto Rico as well. Many of the U.S. operators are now licensed in Puerto Rico, operating there as we are. So, but anyway, it's not just 52 states or 52 jurisdictions, 52 sets of rules. When you factor in the over 240 tribal jurisdictions across the country, and the fact that each of them has negotiated their own compact, which is basically their own gaming laws, we literally have almost 300 gaming jurisdictions with 300 different sets of rules. And one of the things we talk about when we do a lot of the education and awareness training we do, especially on collegiate campuses, is identifying whether it is a law or a reg violation to bet on your own events in that particular state. Because what some athletes don't realize, in some states, if you bet on your own event, you actually just violated the law and now are subject to criminal arrest. Well, that's a heck of a bigger deterrent than you might be suspended for 6 months or for a year, or in college you might lose your senior season. No, you might go to jail. So I think it's important to identify in all these different instances what exactly the athletes are violating, and could it also be potentially criminal, or is it just a regulatory violation, or is it just a league policy? So one of the biggest challenges is actually identifying what the rules are in each of these jurisdictions. And again, with almost 300 jurisdictions, that can be a heavy lift sometimes.
Now, since I found out you were coming on, I have been dying to ask this question to you. I have a law office in New Jersey, which has sports betting since 2018, but I also have a law office right outside of Boston, Massachusetts, that has just started its sports betting industry in January. I'm curious, are you seeing more issues with newer sports betting jurisdictions, or does the newness of an industry bear no relation to the amount of integrity issues that you're detecting?
So I think overall, as new jurisdictions open, we tend to see a little bit less issues at first, because at the end of the day, they're focusing on licensing and launching, and there's not as many people playing yet because you have to get the awareness out. But they've also had the advantages of seeing that, oh my goodness, if we put this data mandate in place, it works. Or if we do this, it works. Or this should be this type of law. So they've been able to see the good and bad of some of these other jurisdictions. Let's take Ohio, for example. Basically it was the diligent work of the great folks at the Ohio Casino Control Commission and the regulated operators in that state that identified the issue with the University of Alabama baseball coach. So they're doing a great job. They were able to look at all the regs in all the other states and say, okay, with 4 years of data and information now, maybe this didn't work as good as New Jersey and PA had hoped, but look, this worked great. They really got it right here. They were able to pick and choose the best parts. So we tend to find, as new states open, the regs tend to be better for integrity purposes. I'm not saying they're better overall. I don't want to get into the debate of whose regs are better, but they're able to take more learnings from 4 years or 5 years of actual launch and wagering and incorporate the best of all of those different sets of regulations. So we tend to find that when the new states launch, their integrity regs are a little bit better.
I'm glad you brought the Ohio Sportsbook and the University of Alabama baseball game, and it's certainly a story that a lot of people are familiar with. Another story that made headlines is the suspension of NFL players for violating the league's gambling policy. I mean, and certainly they're still being investigated by a lot of people, but not getting into specifics. When suspicious betting is going on, what is the process that has to take place in order to, number one, detect a suspicious bet, and what happens once a bet is flagged for being suspicious? I'm sure every incident or every occasion is different with different facts and different processes. But is there a certain order that, number one, has to be flagged, and how is that detection first come about?
So, number one, the biggest misnomer, I think, in integrity is that there is some magic number on each sport or each betting market. Like, if you bet 10,000 on this market, someone's going to investigate it. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Mm-hmm. And in most instances, if you're able to make big, giant wagers on any sporting event other than like NFL sides and totals, the chances are the sports book that you're betting at knows you. You have to have a history with them to be able to make these big, giant wagers. They just don't let people walk off the street and bet 100,000 on some random market or 200,000. You need to have a history with that organism. So it's rarely actually a bet size. It's usually more abnormal activity for that individual once their sort of patterns have been established. So maybe somebody normally bets $100 a game on average on football games. He bets college and pro. Looks like he likes to bet football a lot. Normal bet size is $100. Suddenly he wants to bet $25,000 on the first set of a tennis match. Well, that's definitely abnormal. We're going to flag it and take a real look there. Or, hey, this individual had an account. The account was dormant for a few months, didn't even have money in it. When it did, it was funded with a few $100s. The guy used to bet $50 on mainstream sports like baseball and basketball. Now he wants to deposit $50,000 and bet it on an esports tournament. Well, we're certainly going to take a look at that because it's not just the size of the bet. It's abnormal for the individual who has a pattern already established that he bets $50 on these other sports. And then we run AI on every market. So in every state, we run AI algorithms that come up and say, okay, here's what the average bet size is on every market. So on a player prop, maybe the average bet size is $78, and the average significant bets are like $2,000. But suddenly what we're seeing is, and the average total bet amount across the country on a particular player prop is like $7,500 total. There's not too much money bet on it. But today there's like $750,000 on it, and now we're looking into it. Why is there so much more money wagered on this prop today than there is normally? And then we look into all the circumstances, what's happening, and then immediately send it out to the operators, because sometimes them taking a few big bets on a particular market, they don't understand that it's abnormal. But if they hear that the other, that 71 other operators or something also took the same bet within the same minute window, then they're like, ooh, something's going on. There's something up out there. And we can all look into it together. We can halt the betting market. So it's an information show and information flow and information sharing in real time. But it's never a number. It's never just, there was $50,000 bet on this game. Let's look into it. It's almost always an abnormal, some type of abnormality identified that has to do with the pattern of the individuals.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
For everybody. Oh. Game starts at 20. Bet slip is empty. I gotta call KG. KG, what up? I got nothing for you, Fox. Come on. What you got, huh? It's spa day, Jamie. You don't interrupt spa day. Okay. Gracie, what's up? I need some tips. Jamie, you want a tip? Yeah. No. Come on, somebody. Jalen, what's up, man? You want a tip? Yeah. You really want a tip? I really need some tips. Don't call somebody on live TV, Jamie Foxx. Well, you answered. Have other friends anyway. Marshawn, Barry, holla at me. Hey, what's up with it, Fox? Listen, I need some tips. I like L.A. L.A.? No, Dallas. Dallas not the Dallas? We gotta get to Miami. How about Detroit? Nah, Barry over there. I'm gonna call y'all right back. Vanessa, I need your help.
I got a tip for you. Always go with your gut.
I like that. Going with my gut. Let's go with our gut.
With costs going up, Adam and Eve is the best deal around. With 50% off a sexy adult product at adamandeve.com. That's 50% off right now when you point the camera on your smartphone at the code on the screen. Don't get up. Just open your camera and point it at the screen. Hurry. You'll also get 10 free gifts, including free discreet shipping at checkout. This is your chance to get more for less. So scan now for 50% off plus 10 free gifts from adamandeve.com.
Every 40 seconds, a kid is reported missing. Find the Children provides educational material that teaches your kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs are very successful in bringing kids back home to their family. You can help protect our kids and bring the missing kids home safe by donating your unwanted car, truck, SUV, or van, running or not. We guarantee you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast free pickup, usually within 24 hours. Over 2,000 kids are reported missing every day. Call now to donate your vehicle. Donate now to bring these kids home safe.
Call 800-934-2260. 800-934-2260. 800-934-2260.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Whoa! I think we got a show.
Oh, yeah, we got a show.
We definitely got a show.
Oh, yeah, there's a show. Hey, it's all about ratings, baby, and we got them.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you. This portion of House of Cards is brought to you by SCCG Management, delivering technology-driven capability, expertise, and customer and business value to the gaming industry for over 30 years. For more information, go to sccgmanagement.com. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Matthew Holt, founder and CEO of U.S. Integrity. Now, I know U.S. Integrity is doing incredible things at the collegiate level, and I know you just announced a deal with the Big West Conference, and I know you have partnerships with Pac-12, the SEC, West Coast Conference, Big Sky Conference. What is U.S. Integrity's role with your partnerships with these conferences?
Number one, it's more education heavy. Mm-hmm. So we have to remember that all the professional sports leagues get significant sponsorship dollars from all of their regulated operators. So they're able to take those sponsorship dollars and invest them into big-time education programs, awareness programs. The collegiate level, they don't have those sponsorships. And if we remember, the AGA actually came out and had some guidelines put in place that said they didn't believe the operators should be doing sponsorship deals with the universities. Mm-hmm. So not only are the universities held to sort of the same high standard in the U.S. because the number one and number three most wagered on events are collegiate, March Madness and the CFP playoff, but they are not getting any additional income for those. So they're a little more hesitant sometimes to embrace and engage with sports betting because they're not seeing any revenue back from it directly. But they're still supposed to invest in addiction treatment, education, awareness, integrity monitoring. So with them, it's a little, and at the end of the day, we all have to remember that almost every single collegiate administrator has been told throughout the entirety of their career, stay away from gambling, it'll crush you. Yeah. We've seen coaches suspended for participating in March Madness brackets, never mind betting on their own events or anything. So at the end of the day, it's heavy education, it's heavy awareness, and then it's an understanding. It's sort of not just education in the formal sense, but making sure that you work with the same folks all the time so that they understand what the regulations are in their jurisdictions. They understand what betting really means, that when we see the different types of activity, what's normal, what's abnormal. So it really is, it's a heavier lift up front, mm-hmm. Because there's more education involved, because most of these collegiate folks have no idea about betting.
Well, like I said, U.S. Integrity is always in the news, and a couple of days ago I received a press release announcing a partnership with the University of Illinois Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. Tell us something about that partnership. Is that education heavy as well as you said with the other conferences that you're working with?
Sure. So that partnership, like many of our collegiate school partnerships, is sort of a bundle of services. So that bundle includes education, both mobile and on-site education. So we'll at least once or twice a year, I think, be on-site at the University of Illinois talking to the student athletes. You know, it's such a fluid movement now in college athletics with the transfer portal and people graduating, new freshmen coming in, that, you know, being on campus, talking to the student athletes every year makes a big difference. It includes integrity monitoring of every event at the University of Illinois that actually has wagering at a regulated sports book. We all think about, men's and women's basketball and football as the main sports, but we saw huge upticks in college baseball betting this year, college softball, wrestling in the Midwest, soccer, golf when it gets to the levels of the NCAA tournament. So there's a lot of actual wagering activity in collegiate athletics. We monitor any of their events that have wagering at any regulated book across the country, you know, the different states with their player props and all of those rules. So heavy integrity monitoring, heavy education, and then participation in a program we call ProAbet, which is we use double encryption technology. So schools, leagues, teams, etc., we give them an app, basically software on their servers, that as they upload their own lists of players, coaches, trainers, equipment managers. Those lists are encrypted before it ever leaves their server. So nobody sees the names of who's on those lists. Not us, not regulators, not the operators. And then on the other side, we do the same thing with regulated sportsbook operators. And when individuals at the University of Illinois or any, participating league or team in the ProAbet program attempt to make a wager on one of those events, it tells them that they're prohibited from doing so, and then it sends an alert to both the University of Illinois and the operator where the bet was attempted to be placed in real time so that they know. And the whole goal of ProAbet is, let's stop these athletes. Think of the issues we've seen recently with the NFL, at Iowa State. Well, rather than busting people after, which isn't what we want to do, let's stop it at the root before the bets even happen. So now because the bets aren't going through, no one's actually violating the regs, and now the league can handle it the way they want to. And that's part of the bundle for the University of Illinois, and very similar to what we do with most of the universities we work with across the country.
Talk to me about what U.S. Integrity is doing at the professional level, and when it comes to fraud detection or integrity monitoring. Is there a different process when it comes to professional sports as opposed to collegiate sports, or are the tools utilized at both levels pretty much the same?
They're pretty much the same, other than the fact that at this point, the professional has a much wider, more international base. So we have, the NFL plays games in Germany and Mexico and the UK, and thus we have to monitor the wagering and activity in a lot of different jurisdictions. So, as we see the NBA and the NFL and so many of these sports expanding internationally to wider level, the amount of coverage we have to make sure that we're getting in all of these different countries and jurisdictions is much more expansive in the professional side than it is at the collegiate side at this point, but the tools, the processes, the procedures are all pretty much the same.
Again, it seems like I'm reading about deals you're making every week. I know U.S. Integrity announced a partnership with Legacy Fighting Alliance, which is a mixed martial arts organization. And anyone who follows sports betting knows that MMA has become a huge sport to bet on. Tell us about that deal and what U.S. Integrity is doing in the world of MMA, because like I said, it has become a huge business.
Yeah, I think LFA was sort of the last holdout. We had contracts with UFC and Bellator and the PFL, and thus the LFA is one of the biggest feeder leagues to the UFC, understood the importance and the need for to have an independent integrity monitor. So now signing them, I think we work with every really significant MMA organization around the world, and MMA really does have a disadvantage, and we saw it in the UFC last November. They had a really big issue, and that issue was so big it actually led to, the UFC being banned in Ontario and Canada for a little while to be bet on, and obviously they had several athletes that are still under suspension from the Nevada State Athletic Commission. That issue is still under FBI investigation, so I can't really comment on any detail on it. But the disadvantage they always had with things like insider information or education was that at the end of the day, if you're a professional league, no matter what, you can grab the trainers, the equipment managers, anyone who works for the team essentially also works for the league. And thus, if there's education materials you need them to get and watch and understand, you can get it to them, they can sign off on any training they have to go to, all of that. Where at the UFC level, the fighter himself is an independent contractor under contract with the UFC. But the fighter also needs trainers and cornermen and all these people affiliated directly with him who are not employees of the actual organization. So at the end of the day, when they send out all their education materials and gaming policies and anti-gambling language, while the fighters get it, the trainers don't, and they're not subject to the same type of situation as a trainer would be on an MLB team or an NBA team. And thus, there really is this sort of extra hill to climb in terms of education, in terms of awareness, in terms of enforcement capabilities. And I give a lot of credit to the PFL, to the UFC, to these major MMA organizations. They go above and beyond to make sure that they're doing as much as they can, even though because of the situation, because of the fact that these people that are part of the fighting, the trainer, your cornerman, your cut man, they're part of it. They know, they have inside information. They're in the locker room with you. If your arm's hurt, if you hurt something during training, they know everything, yet they're not subject to the same scrutiny as they would be as a trainer in any other professional or collegiate sports league. So the MMA organizations have a higher hill to climb, and to their credit, they've met and exceeded all expectations, I think, over the last year.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
Attention. If you owe back taxes to the IRS, watch this urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by hiring 87,000 new agents to garnish your paycheck and put liens on homes and businesses. They can even seize your bank account. The IRS calls it enforced compliance, and now they have the manpower to get you. Penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily. So call One Stop Tax Relief Shop and get the IRS off your back. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. And no other tax shop gets you more or faster approvals. One Stop Tax Relief has resolved thousands of cases since 2014 and saved clients millions of dollars. Call now for a free consultation. Connect with tax professionals who get the IRS off your back.
Call 800-605-0688. 800-605-0688.
One Stop Tax Relief Shop.
You know what I'm saying? In front of everybody. Oh. Game starts at 20, bet slip is empty. I gotta call KG. KG, what up? I got nothing for you, Fox. Come on. What you got, huh? And it's spa day, Jamie. You don't interrupt spa day. Okay. Gracie, what's up? I need some tips. Jamie, you want a tip? Yeah. No. Come on, somebody. Jalen, what's up, man? You want a tip? Yeah. You really want a tip? I really need some tips. Don't call somebody on live TV, Jamie Foxx. Well, you answered. Have other friends anyway. Marshawn, Barry, holla. Jamie Foxx. Hey, what's up with it, Fox? Listen, I need some tips. I like L.A. L.A.? No, Dallas. Dallas not the Dallas? We gotta get to Miami. How about Detroit? Nah, Barry over there. You know what? I'm gonna call y'all right now. Vanessa, I need your help.
I got a tip for you. Always go with your gut.
I like that. Going with my gut. Let's go with our gut.
You're listening to House of Cards.
I'm talking sick piles of money. I'm talking lay on your bed in your Vegas room, throw the money in the air, and dance as it showers down on you money. I'm talking frosted glass limo money. I'm talking big cowboy hat, silver turquoise buckle money. I'm talking gambling.
I am in love with you.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. House of Cards is brought to you by the Life Hack Pack from More Labs. Unlock your best self with the Life Hack Pack from More Labs. The Life Hack Pack contains 2 bottles of Morning Recovery, 2 bottles of Dreamwell, and 2 bottles of Liquid Focus. The Life Hack Pack is specially designed to help you live your life not just better, but smarter. Use promo code Radio15 at morelabs.com to get 15% off your first purchase of the Life Hack Pack or any of their other great products. That's promo code Radio15 to take advantage of this great promo of 15% off your first purchase at morelabs.com. You can finally do it all with help from More Labs. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Matthew Holt, founder and CEO of U.S. Integrity. One of the amazing things about the spread of sports betting is the exposure of new sports to the public. I mean, recently, U.S. Integrity announced a partnership with the World Long Drive. I have some kind of idea what that is, but I've never seen it before in my life. And I know the president of GF Sports and Entertainment, who owns World Long Drive, said that the partnership with U.S. Integrity will allow their fans to eventually bet on the sport. Is that the first step of any relatively new sport to a lot of people, is the reassurance and the knowledge that the sport is free from any fraudulent activity? I mean, for me, a partnership with U.S. Integrity is almost like the stamp of approval. But is that important for a new sport, especially new to the public, that they have this assurance that everything is free from fraudulent activity?
I think it really is. And we call that sector of our business emerging leagues. And in our world, what emerging leagues simply means is it's a league that hasn't had legal sports betting on it before that would like to use it as a way to engage with their fans. So what we always do with those emerging leagues when we sign up with them is start with developing the right policies, procedures, anti-gambling language, governance structure that we know the state regulators are going to want to see, so that as they apply for wagering approvals in those states, because each state has a catalog of what is approved to wager on, and if you want to be added to that catalog, you have to show that you have the right governance, oversight, anti-gambling language, policies and procedures in place. So we always start by working with those leagues to develop those things. Then we'll introduce them to the right data companies to make sure, again, if you're going to have sports betting, there has to be a way for the sportsbook operators to watch the event live, get live scores, get official scores that they can use for grading of the events, for resulting and grading for wagers, and then connecting them with sportsbooks to make sure the sportsbooks are interested in offering it. Then going to the states, handing in this big package that says, okay, they have the right anti-gambling language, governance, policies, procedures. They have sports books interested in offering it. They have the right data. Here's where you can watch the events. All of this stuff, there's a lot of hoops. And then they're allowed to start having wagers accepted on their events. And we have to remember that none of these leagues, directly participate in gaming revenue. They might get sponsorship dollars, but it's not actual revenue based on the number of bets. But what we have found is, look, sports and sports betting collided in 2018. Those two worlds will never be pulled apart. I think a lot of these emerging leagues know, because there's so many studies out there now that show people are 18 to 20 times more likely to watch an event they have a bet on than one they don't. So if they can get people placing wagers on their event, they think people will watch more of their events, attend more of their events, and thus are more likely to buy merchandise, be engaged, become a fan, etc. So emerging leagues has become a big part of our business, and it's good to see that these leagues are trying to do it the right way, responsibly, and we continue to support any of these emerging leagues that have taken the initiative to try to engage with regulated sports betting in the most responsible manner.
Well, I'm certainly going to try to use the term emerging leagues a lot more so I can fit in with you guys. But one of the things that a lot of people are talking about, we have a lot of people in the sports betting industry on this show, a lot of politicians on this show, and everyone is talking about maybe esports being the next big betting activity. And recently, U.S. Integrity did a deal with a company called Grid. And I know a lot of states now are trying to formulate rules rules and regulation when it comes to betting on esports. And I'm curious, where do you see the future of esports as a betting activity?
So interestingly enough, esports has been legal to wager on in Nevada even prior to the repeal of PASPA. And to be honest, across the world, if we say, percentage of events that have integrity issues, esports is either number one or number two, right there with tennis. Historically, there's been so many issues with it so far. What we got, the partnership with Grid was to try to develop two things so that esports can grow into the betting community that we all think it should be. The participation numbers in esports dwarf anything we see in traditional sports.
It's incredible.
It's unbelievable, the participation numbers, but the integrity just hasn't been there, and part of it has been the data and the monitoring. So we're trying to work with Grid, who intends to work directly with the actual game publishers, the Riot, the Activision, Blizzards, these companies, so that we can get better real-time data, better information in real time, better understanding of the betting markets, better monitoring. Hopefully with better monitoring and all of that, the participants will understand that if they try to attempt to do these things, they're going to likely be caught, and thus it'll be a good deterrent. Because if esports ever reaches the engagement and betting numbers, if they even slightly mirror the participation numbers, we're talking something that's like NFL-size wagering.
So with the spread of sports betting and of iGaming in this country, where do you think the future of integrity monitoring will be headed?
Well, I don't think that we're that much different than the SEC or FINRA and the financial services market. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be more data, more technology, because that's what we've seen on the financial service side. And at the end of the day, sports betting is not that much different from financial services. We even use the same terminology in the sportsbook employees, risk managers, traders, punters. So at the end of the day, we're even calling them the exact same things. So why don't we use the same exact standards? Every single trade is examined independently by an SEC or a FINRA. And at the end of the day, it should all just be data coming in real time, with systems, identifying abnormalities, not people, and then using our people to talk to people on the other side when these abnormalities are detected. So in real time, we can get a feel of how abnormal or suspicious people think it is, and then get alerts out to the industry in real time. I think we're going to continue to evolve, continue to improve the technology, and probably start to more and more mirror what we see on the financial services side.
Matt, we're running out of time, but can you give out a website so people can check out U.S. Integrity and see all the great things you guys are doing in the sports betting and gambling industry?
Sure. So it's usintegrity.com. And, look, if anyone ever wants to reach out, we're happy to walk people through what we do, how we do it. We're a B2B company, so we don't necessarily have, services direct to consumer, but again, really excited about where we are in the ecosystem. And I think the more the general public is educated on integrity, the better for everybody. So if anyone ever wants to learn more, we're happy to talk to them.
Matthew Holt, CEO and founder of U.S. Integrity, thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about the amazing things you're doing in the gaming industry. Like I've been saying, U.S. Integrity is a company I am continually hearing about and how they're doing amazing things for the sports betting and gaming communities in this country. Please come back and keep us updated about what's going on with U.S. Integrity. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a great day. Take care.
Well, that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time with House of Cards.
Drag a spotted chain across the desert.